For me, success was getting to the freaking out of the bed or getting to the mailbox. It literally was 4 or 5 steps. So I have to bury the old version of me, that I can do all this shit. It's like the little wins. Like I have to have the little wins.
I literally find people that I vibe with, and it's not about what I could do for them or what they could do for me. But I try to provide value in any way that I can and build a real relationship. So I feel like when you started masking that inner child, and when you started masking it, your emotional intelligence stopped growing. When I started smoking pot at 11, my emotional intelligence, it stopped growing until I stopped. And then it picked up.
Self-love is also the toxic and the negative talk.
Correct.
You cannot allow it. Sometimes I just need to just hear it. I'm ruminating right now. Boom, I'm done.
Welcome to Mastering the Inner and Outer Wealth with your host, Jarek Tadla, where we dive deep into the art of building freedom from the inside out. Together, we'll uncover practical strategies, real-life success stories, and expert insights to help you master your inner wealth and create the life you've always wanted. So let's get started.
Welcome to Mastering the Inner Wealth and Outer Wealth. Today I have my great friend, Jesse Deutscher. And you know what? Guys, watch, listen, because today we're gonna go deep. I know Jesse for a while now, and the life experience we share is freaking unbelievable. And we connected on the pain. The same thing. But he was so lucky that he went through the journey a lot quicker than I did. I woke up at the age of 48. He got the wake up call a little bit earlier, and it's funny. He always talks about it. That he's so grateful that he did so early in life, so he can now you can enjoy your life.
Of course.
So let's go, Jesse. I think that it is ready. Where do we start?
I'll let you lead.
Okay. So we both come from, I'm the immigrant, we grew up, and mostly I grew up around alcohol. That's how I ended up. Yeah. How did you, when you told me your story, you were 14 years old? No.
I started smoking pot at 11 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 11. Cigarettes and weed at 11. I was drinking by 13.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started young.
Okay. And then what happened?
It escalated. And at 12 years old, I broke my arm pitching a baseball, and it snapped in half. The ball went towards third base. I passed out. It was about a 2-year recovery process. They had to let the bone heal, and then I had surgery. Basically, that whole time, they put me on Percocets. That was my first introduction to opiates at the age of 12. So I liked it, I liked it a lot. And I took more than I was supposed to take. And that kind of started me off on my journey of getting fat and doing drugs. Okay. Because I wasn't able to play sports. So at 14, that 12 to 14-year-old gap, right? Everybody got a lot better at sports. And I was the star athlete up until my injury. I was on a junior U.S. Olympic diving team. I was a baseball player. I was a hockey player. There really wasn't a sport that I didn't play. Basketball, soccer, I did it all. Mm-hmm. But then I got injured, and then I got that victim mentality that we talk about from 12 to 25 years old. I was stuck in that victim mentality, the drugs, the alcohol, all the addiction.
Okay. How does because I know that the smoking, because then you quit the drugs. Well, no, the drugs was the last thing, because you were quitting in orders.
Yeah, so I did opiates, right? I was introduced to them at a young age, but I got into the Oxycontin at the age of 17 till about 19. Then everybody switched to heroin. I watched all my friends start dying, and I decided to get clean and go on Suboxone and get off of opiates. Again, that's God, not me, right? My mind told me if I do heroin, which I did a couple times, but I started watching everyone die. So I said, I'm not a heroin addict, right? Because to me, growing up, on Long Island, crack and heroin was from the hood, right? Mm-hmm. But all the rich kids did cocaine and pain pills, right? So to me, that was a low for me. I was okay, I'm doing what the homeless people on the street are doing, right? And that's how I saw it. So that was kind of a wake-up call where I got off of the opiates. But then I continued to do Xanax, cocaine, drink alcohol, and smoke a shit ton of weed until I was 25. Cool. Yeah.
So what happened at age 25 then?
25, I became what they call drug psychosis, and I went through my deep depression where I couldn't get off the couch. I had friends sleeping with me, and I wanted to take my own life. And that's when the real wake-up call happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when I stopped drinking heavy and started my personal development journey at 25.
Where did you start it from? Like, do you have any like a coach, somebody that inspire you? How did it?
No, I literally had a gun in my mouth, and I decided not to pull the trigger right in front of my dad's face. And then it was a God moment, right? Because I blacked out. I don't really remember. I do remember putting the gun there, but I don't remember like 15 minutes of time lapse. And then that was like my first God moment that I realized this is where we make the change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do it like, because a lot of people, like for me, I have my wake up call at the age of 48.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was in bed. I was in a gun. I was in bed. Right. Like I couldn't get out. How did you? Because a lot of people listening, like the depression bullshit, blah blah blah. And I talk a lot about mental health. That. And how do we? How the journey, like from there, like because everybody thinks it's just like this was the wake up call, but the journey is still less now. I mean, we talk about it. We have a deep conversation all the time about it. So it didn't stop.
No. So the first step was I was 360 pounds. I couldn't even tie my own shoes without losing my breath. Right. So the first thing that I had to do was lose weight. I knew that, but in order to lose weight, I had to stop drinking every night and drinking 20 beers and 18 shots every night, right? Like that had to stop. So that was the first step.
How hard was quit drinking?
Really wasn't that hard. I just stopped. I was ready, right? You can't force somebody to stop doing it, but when they're ready, they're ready.
Whoever is listening right now, you guys, like, if you guys see successful person, you see an addict. And it doesn't matter. What happened is, like me, Jesse, there's a lot of us that we just kind of like knowing that you have an addiction problem. Like I was an addict, in the work.
Yeah.
So, because I started alcohol late, but I went from one extreme to another. Like, we do everything 120. So we all addicts, but we got to figure out the choice, like which addiction we pick. So a lot of times we pick the good one. We pick the bad ones. So, okay.
Yeah.
Then alcohol.
I mean, when you're talking about being an addict, my dad's 33 years sober. So I grew up in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I still went to drugs and alcohol, right? So, like, I knew I was an addict before I even picked up a drug or a drink. It was already ingrained in my head that
I talk to my kids and my son especially, and it's like, you have this in your genes.
Yeah.
You can just pick and choose which direction you want to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, because, some of us, like, are just, like, I think, like, all this stuff is from everybody. I mean, for people that can use it, but a lot of people just can't.
Well, it's a superpower when channeled, right? And it can kill you if it's channeled wrong,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's how do you use it?
Yeah.
Because there is nobody who's not an addict that is going to be hyper successful.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's no way.
They're going to want to work 9 to 5, go home, watch TV, eat food, and go back to sleep and do that again tomorrow. But an addict is not okay with that life, right? It's all or nothing.
Okay.
So
how? But go for the the weight, alcohol, but the weed you stay in your system for a while until you just went into businesses and
yeah. April 9th, a little over 2 years ago, I stopped smoking pot, but I sold weed my whole life, so I kind of like was the weed guy, right? We go to a party, I sit at a table, I pull out the best weed, and everybody's sitting around me smoking my weed, right? Like that was my identity for a while, right? And I thought, but if I'm not the weed guy, who am I, right? But then I realized, being around successful people, I had a coach, Eric Spofford, who you know, and one day I'm at an event and I'm like, how come I keep hearing everyone's story and I feel like I got to stop smoking weed? I'm like, it's just weed, Like I stopped the opiates, I stopped the alcohol. I'm like, it's just weed. And then he laughs at me and turns to, a couple other people that were there and was like, do you hear what Jesse said? And he laughed in my face. He goes, because you fucking should. So again, just like with the stop drinking alcohol, I went home from that event and I smoked like a 3.5 gram joint. I took a couple dabs of hash oil and I didn't even feel high. That was a sign from God that like your time smoking's up, because if you're not even feeling high at all, like not the slightest bit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know, but that's a lot of weed to smoke in one sitting.
Oh, I don't know.
Right?
I was never.
I know you don't know, but I'm telling you, like most people, even prior to that event, if I smoked that, I'll be ready to go to bed. But I didn't feel it at all. So that was the sign to me that it was time to let it go.
How did your life change since then?
Spiritually, amazing. Financially, a roller coaster. Because that was the same day I quit selling weed.
I'm gonna ask you a question because it's funny. It's not only I heard this on podcasts and I read about it in like 3 books, and so the same message was over and over and over again in my head that guys, the drug dealers are the best business people in this world.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, because not only they have to run the business, but they have to hire and they have to legally and they have to.
and you can't market it.
Yes,
you can't market at all. There's no marketing.
It's
Yeah.
you, and it truly in the business. It's really you are you represent the business, and then you have to attract the right people in order to run it. So how did that help you in the journey of?
Well, it got to a point where you see news articles and you see like those pyramids of the organization. Mm-hmm. And I had my own pyramid. And that, I went through like panic and, I would panic every day, take Xanax to go through the day. But I had, about 40 people in my chart. And I realized I'm running a business. But I also always owned a business too. So right after high school, I bought into my first business. So I always owned the business along with selling pot because I couldn't pay my bills with weed money, right? That was to buy nice stuff, and have fun. But I couldn't, I never wanted to launder the money. I never wanted to evade taxes. So I always paid my fair share of taxes and did all that. So yeah, juggling it all without being able to market, I would, same way that I network now, right? I just network with different people now. I would play poker. I would go to the pool halls. I would go to the bars, and I would basically just pick one person from.
How do you go to the bars and you don't drink?
I was drinking then.
Oh, okay,
I was drinking then.
okay.
I mean, that whole life, I was partying, right? Mm-hmm. So I would pick like one person from each town that was like the top drug dealer that I knew from that bar or from that town, and I would just give them a better number than they were paying, and then I would take over the whole town with one person. So they all had their people under them, and I just had them. And that's how I kind of did it.
How do you do it now?
What?
How do you do it now? How does that help you in the business? Because you are a connector. You know that when I met you, we immediately connected.
Yeah, I mean, it helped. The thing is a lot of those relationships I thought were real relationships, but then when I got out of the game, they're all gone, right? So they're gone, but to me, those were my people, right? So I just brought that real authentic self that I am to a different room. Mm-hmm. So I literally find people that I vibe with, and it's not about what I could do for them or what they could do for me, but I try to provide value in any way that I can and build a real relationship, right? I mean, you've known me for almost a year now. Yeah. Have I asked you for anything?
No.
No, because it's not about that.
Yeah.
Right? Have I tried to provide value wherever I can?
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I do, and that's how I build my network. So it's kind of hard to teach somebody how to network because I can't teach you how to be me, right? I am who I am, and I just come in there and I'm me. If you like it, cool. If you don't, you're not my people.
I got a good question because you said something interesting about changing the identity because that's where people are struggling. Yeah. And this whoever listening is like, let's say if you are a kid straight out of college, well, I'm a student, right? Yeah. And now what next? When you're a father, I'm the husband, I'm the business owner, and because I know how hard it is to change identity. Yeah. Because I have to change it so many times in my life. How was it? What the steps you have to take to change the identity?
I don't think I had to change the identity. I just had to remember that I am who I am with the weed or without the weed, right? Like you are who you are, whether you're at home with your kids or whether you're at business. You just have to operate at a different frequency. But you're still you. So nothing identifies who you are.
But isn't it hard, when you're sedating with something with substances, right, from the outside stuff? So, I mean, it's hard to connect with yourself.
Yeah, you're numbing the voice of God within. I mean, that was the main reason I let go of it, but I was still me.
Okay.
I was still me. I was just numb. Different emotions. Mm-hmm. But I never really hid who I was. So for me, it's a tough one.
How quickly after quitting you find a better connection with, like, you become more spiritual?
Well, I started my spiritual journey at 25 when I almost took my life. So I felt like the only thing holding me back from fully connecting, like I had a therapist at 25 who said, when you come to these sessions, just don't smoke before you come here. I'm not going to tell you to stop smoking pot, but let's do the work sober, right? Like come here fresh without the substances so we could actually get some work done. And what I realized is after smoking, you can't pray. Like if you ever try to pray when you're high, it's not the same kind of connection. So I was just ready to let go of the pot, but I always prayed before that. So like, I don't know. It's
but a lot of people don't want to go to therapy because there is a stigma about if you there's like I want to break the stigma of the mental health.
Yeah.
But also I want to break the stigma of a therapist because people don't want to go to therapy because they think it's a shameful, and that's people's like, well, you sick, and it's like, how you were young, like how did you?
Well, so I mean, I've been to therapy my whole life, right? Like I started therapy when
By
I
the
was,
way, whoever is watching, we are in therapy right now.
yeah. And exactly. And those same people that don't want to go see a therapist are the ones that are doing cocaine and talking deep with their friends that don't care about them, and they have their own point of view on them, but they're using them as a therapist, right?
Yeah.
You ever get in that deep conversation when you're fucked up? That's therapy, right? All it is getting the shit out and talking to somebody. So, I mean, there's more to it. There's strategies and CBT and different, therapies that they use. But, at the end of the day, when my parents got divorced, I was I went to therapy. But I didn't get along with any of the therapists. I didn't really talk much as a kid. But I got to a point where I was on medication. They had me on Xanax. They had me on depression medicine when I went through the psychosis. So it got to a point where I didn't want to live on medicine, right? And I was able to take myself off the medicine prior to having my child, but it was with personal development, right? Like I had to get to a point where I was actually truly happy with myself and how I looked and how I operated before I was able to come off the drugs.
But now you hit the gym, you do everything, and you still like that's a journey. But I mean, you didn't get there overnight, dude. Like this doesn't happen. Like, how do you shut the voices inside? It's like how by like for me, I mean, dude, like when I have a bad day, dude, I have a bad day.
Yeah.
That's it. And the devil, freaking demons that get in my head is like, fuck with me.
Well, I can tell you, like I've been having a tough week, right? But I
Yeah.
woke up today and I stuck to my routine, right? I prayed, I meditated, and I went to the gym before I came here to do this podcast. That's non-negotiable. I do that every day, whether the days are good or bad. And I can kind of reframe my mind to have the best day possible with whatever circumstances we're dealing with.
Okay. What was like the biggest like hardship that you experienced in life that you like shit like I cannot do this shit anymore? The biggest pain that would go like back like as a child, this happened as a child because like for me, I didn't realize it. I have a childhood trauma. I thought my childhood was good.
Yeah.
So what was for you the biggest like childhood trauma?
I was molested as a child. So I thought it was when but then I've been through, I realized that my trauma started when my parents got divorced when I was 3. So everything goes back to childhood. But that's why I turned to drugs. That's why I turned to all that kind of stuff, But yeah, I mean, there's always somebody who has it worse than the next person. That's the way I look at it. So, whatever it is, you got to face it.
How did you face it?
Therapy, drugs, alcohol, telling the people close to me what happened, being able to open up about it and not hold it as a secret.
But a lot of people hold within. Like, I hold all my pain for years. I was putting all this shit on the carpet.
Yeah.
Did you knew from the beginning that you have all this shit going on? Because like I like for me, you and I would talk a lot.
I knew. I think that's why
I
I faced it a lot earlier, because I already knew what my shit was. Mine was clear. It wasn't like, oh, my dad was mean to me, or my mom was mean to me, or my mom worked a lot, right? Like my shit was something that I couldn't hide, right? Like I knew, but I would just numb it and numb it and numb it.
You now surround yourself by a lot of businessmen, like a lot of people, high net worth people. Like, and you and I, we can look at each other as like, okay, he's still delusional, drink, party, and they think they on the top of the mountains, and we're just like, this the time. This the time is gonna like, how do you give some not even advice, but like how do you whoever is listening, it's like they live in the denial because I think the denial is the most thing. It's like I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, and then when you realize it's not good, people commit suicide. Like you got saved and I got saved. Like I'm on my fourth year right now, so I wouldn't be here. So how do you? I don't know. Send the signal so people don't get too far.
Well, in my prayers every day, I pray for somebody, for God to put me in front of somebody that needs to hear my message today. And it's not by chance that somewhere, somehow throughout the day, there's somebody that needs to hear my message.
So what is Jesse Deutscher message?
Jesse Deutscher's message is, it depends, right? I mean, I hear somebody that comes to me with a problem and I give them the solution, or I tell them my story, or it comes in all different ways, right? It just depends on who I end up in front of. It happens at the gym a lot, happens on Instagram. I'll put up a post at the gym and somebody will message me and be like, you're the reason I went to the gym today. And I've got that from like professional bodybuilders. And I'm like, I'm the reason? And because they saw my post and they were like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm going to get up and go to the gym today. Mm-hmm. Right? So, my message comes in all forms. Like today, it's probably going to come through doing this podcast, right? Because now a lot of people are going to hear my message and hopefully it helps one person. But that's, my message is that you could really do whatever it is that you want to do when you make a decision to do it and you follow through, right? It's very simple. I wanted to get off medication, so I changed everything in my life to where I was happy and I didn't need medication. It was that simple. People overcomplicate it. They get stuck in that victim mentality.
How we get the strength, though? Because, like, I couldn't get out of bed, dude. Like, I couldn't. Like, you could not get me out of my bed.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. I've had friends sleep on my couch to make sure I was okay. Like, my parents were in Florida, and I was in New Jersey, and they were talking to a couple of my best friends to stay at my house, with me to make sure I was okay. I couldn't leave my house. I would sit there and smoke and eat and smoke and eat and just wouldn't leave the house. But, bad times don't last forever. Things are always going to get better, But when you're depressed, you feel like it's all over.
How we get off the rabbit hole? Like,
to be honest, for me, it was exercise. When I exercise, if I just get up and exercise, that negative space can't live within me. It can't be as bad.
But for me, Jesse, like, you know my story because you and I, we talk a lot. But to me, like, I'm the freaking Iron Man, dude. Like, I bike 112 miles, 150 miles a day. I bike 10, 20 miles. I swim 3-6 miles. And suddenly when I hit the bottom of the bottom, dude, like for me, success was getting to the freaking out of the bed or getting to the mailbox. It literally was 4 or 5 steps. So I have to bury the old version of me, that I can do all this shit. It's like the little wins. Like I have to have the little wins. Because I could not immediately after, when I was in bed for freaking like 40, 60 days, my muscle's gone.
Right.
Like all the shit, not only in the head, like my muscle, like in my brain muscles also, like,
Well, you masked it for so long.
Yeah.
You just kept all your trauma in for so long and just completely masked it.
Yeah, the pain. What happened is, like, I would tell always, like, on my podcast everywhere, it's like the pain, the emotional body pain just compound, and suddenly it's just, what the fuck, and just explode when I was on the top of the top.
Yeah, because the amount of money you have doesn't have anything to do with emotional, health at all. Mental health is something that money can't change.
No. No. Well, that's why I always saw the same shit. Like, the Buddha or the monks, they don't go to celebrities and make me, help me to be happy. But all the celebrities and the billionaires go to the monks and Buddha. They travel to India. They stay, meditate for years. Like, make me take this shit out of me.
Yeah, because they just want to find their happy place because they became an identity, and it's not. Sometimes it's not really who they are. right? It's just who they have to pretend to be. They feel like they have to pretend to be that because that's what the world thinks of them.
How would you explain to people the emotional pain, like emotional?
I mean, same as you, right? I literally went to the hospital for EKGs thinking I was having heart attacks, and they're like, no, it's a panic attack. No, it's a panic attack. No, it's a panic attack. I can't tell you how many times I went to the hospital, and they were like, you're fine. It's a mental health problem. And I was like, oh. And then they give me medicine, you know? And, you know, I went through, like, barium tests, and, like, they checked. I went through every test there was to see if I had a heart issue because I was overweight, so they thought maybe it was a problem. But it was all linked to depression and anxiety. So it comes in the form of physical pain.
What do you like? I have a son, and what advice would you give it to my little Patrick or kids that are 18, 20 years old? You know, they're getting in the party mode and drugs and alcohol. Like, what advice would you give them? You want to would you give him go to this stage or do not touch the shit?
Yeah, I don't know. 'Cause I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, as you know, and I think about that sometimes. I'm like, am I gonna let her experience it? My dad let me experience it, and I had to figure it out on my own because if you tell them not to do it, what do you think's gonna happen? They're gonna want to do it more. So it's really just I try to lead by example. My plan is to be sober for the rest of my life, one day at a time, right? Non-negotiable. And show my daughter, my wife doesn't drink, we don't smoke, we don't do drugs. So she's not going to see us doing it. We're going to lead by example and hope that she follows. So I don't think it's anything that you could tell them. So when they go to college, if or when they go to college, there's going to be parties and they're going to make their own decisions. I guess what I would tell them is if you're ever in a situation where you don't feel comfortable, call me to pick you up. Don't ever get in a car with somebody drunk. I've lost friends that way, right? So, don't drive drunk. Don't get in the car. I'll never punish you for calling me to get you out of a bad situation. But I don't think there's anything I could do to stop it if that's the route they're going to go.
Can you walk me through, because you and I, we talk about a lot about the conscious level. Like, I was like, shit, Jesse, I wish I was your age and have this consciousness level, the awareness that you have right now about, like you can go in somebody else's and I really admire that about you, your perspective, because you're looking like you really put the empathy in their shoes and you know what they're going through. Right. How do you learn this shit? Like, because that's how I connected with you. Like you really.
I mean, I guess I played poker since I was like 11 years old and I could read people and I care about people. Right? Until somebody screws me over, I care about you 100%. If you do me wrong once, I could give a fuck less about you, which is my problem, right? It's a problem I actually have, right? Like getting rid of that anger when somebody does screw me over, because I give everybody a chance to screw me over once.
Okay.
But I never give them a chance to do it twice. Okay. Right? So I've lived my life that way for a long time, Even selling drugs, I would spot people $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth of shit. They had one chance to not pay me. It's only happened twice in 20-something years, right? So I give them the opportunity, and if they take it, then they don't exist to me. Mm. But when I care about you, I'll do anything for you, and that's just who I am. It's not that's why you say, how do you put yourself in there? It's who I am. I can't change who I am. If I care, I care.
But how would you teach people? Because for me, I'm still in the learning, right? I'm I always tell, if it comes to emotional intelligence, one of my coaches said, Craig, he goes, Jarek, you got to stop saying the shit that you are a toddler if it comes to emotional intelligence, because you've been saying the shit 6 years ago, then 4 years ago, 2 years ago. So your emotional intelligence is growing and the awareness. So how would you give the advice to people, to...
Somebody who's coming off of drugs or somebody who... So, I feel like when you started masking that inner child, right, when you started masking it, your emotional intelligence stopped growing. When I started smoking pot at 11, my emotional intelligence, right, that it stopped growing until I stopped. Mm-hmm. And then it picked up. But I've sent a lot of my friends to my therapist that helped me a lot. And,
You talk about your therapist a lot.
Yeah, he changed my whole life.
Okay. Are you still see the same therapist? Or?
No, he told me I don't need him anymore. I swear to God. I went 3 days a week for 4 years. I paid him $169 or $168 3 times a week for years. And one day, right after I had my kid, he goes, Jesse, I don't think you need to pay me anymore. I think you're living a really good life. And if you need me, you have my phone number. I've talked to him twice since, going through certain things where I needed to talk to somebody, and I reached out and scheduled an appointment. But he's the guy who stopped taking my money because he's like, you're good. Like, we're literally sitting here and you have nothing to really talk about. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I like at that point I was like, oh, I graduated therapy, right? Yeah. And like when we met, I told you I'd done so much therapy because I felt like I faced all the demons at that point. You know, I faced all the stuff that was inside. I got it all out. I did the work, but there's always more work.
What people say, do the work. Like a lot of people
have the hard conversations.
Okay.
Right? Like you think I wanted to go to my father and tell him what happened to me, and tell my mother and tell my family, right? Like coming out and saying and having those hard conversations, because a lot of the time you just need to get it out and let the people know that love you what's bothering you, right?
How do you know those people love you? And it's like, because a lot of times you open up in front of the wrong person, and it's like, for me,
I can tell you one thing, as a parent,
yeah,
you love your kids unconditionally, right?
Not unconditionally.
So I know I can go to my mother and my father and I can tell them, right? That's a great start.
I got it. Okay, yeah. I'm going to be devil advocate here. You can tell your parents, but what happens is their conscious level is whatever they at. Mm-hmm. So they don't know how to react to it. They don't know how to help you because they don't have the skills. They went through it. I'm the father of five kids, Jesse.
Yeah.
And what happened is I do fuck up shit still.
Yeah.
I do the inner work. I do a lot of stuff. You know, I read a lot. And there's a lot of stuff like right now. Like 3 months ago, I wouldn't do it now. But the awareness, the conscious level, they cannot help you.
It's not about them helping you. The help comes from you actually saying what needs to come out that you've been holding in. Whatever you've been suppressing that you need to tell them, the work's done. It's not the help. It's not their feedback that they're going to give you.
What if you open up in front of somebody just said this? Like to me, there was like a... You know, it's
I mean,
in
for
your
me,
head
it was my fiance, my mother, my father. I mean, that's really the only people I went to and got out everything I needed to say. Okay. It wasn't like my friend.
What advice would you give it to somebody who's listening and it's like, and they're gonna say like, fuck you, I don't have anybody.
You always have somebody. You always have somebody. And if you don't, get a therapist and get it out, right? The more that you hold something in and mask whatever it is, you just have to let it out.
You know the true story, like I really got a therapist, brand new therapist, because like my therapists are coaches, right? Mm-hmm. And I get it like truly like another coach, another therapist, like brand new coach, brand new therapist, because all those guys knew me for years and they see what I built and they knew my backstory. Mm-hmm. So I was feeling that I'm not getting the right feedback back or I'm not giving different perspective because they knew my patterns.
Yeah.
So I was not scared. I was like, oh shit, yeah, they're telling me this shit because I pay them. Like, you know what I mean? So I have to get somebody new to completely like dropped, and it's like, let's see where I'm at right now, not the backstory.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point because I have mentors. I have business mentors. I have coaches, right? But it's nothing like a therapist who devotes his whole life to helping people $180 at a time. He's never going to be rich at that level of a lot of these coaches that we hire, mentors,
yeah,
right? He's not running a funnel. He's not trying to make a lot of money, right? He doesn't care about that. His purpose in life is to just help others.
How do you know it's a good thing? So now, let's say Jesse, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
How do I know that I go to the right therapist? Because let's say I've been through many therapists, not only physical therapists. Like, how the fuck do you know?
I mean, for me, this was the only therapist that actually worked for me. And because he didn't tell me what to do, what not to do, it was just different. I mean, I've been through rehabs, therapists, none of it worked. Anger management, I've been through all of it. But this was the first time I found a therapist that I liked. And one thing that...
So what you're telling me that you just feel it, like you connected?
Yeah, you just know. Yeah, you just know. And the other thing is you get what you need when you need it. So it was the time in my life where I needed that. And if I wasn't already going to him, I probably would have taken my life because that happened after I started doing the work. Mm-hmm. right? So I already brought God into my life because I disconnected from God for many years. But the one thing I could say about picking a therapist, because this, for me, I used to pick women all the time. I love women, right? So I wanted to talk to a woman, not a man. Problem is, women don't think like men. They're different, right? We just don't think the
Don't
same.
tell me, brother. I'm on a third marriage, so
Right,
so
you know.
I don't like.
Right.
I'm not the good one.
Right. So that was what I used to do. Like even as a teenager, I only want a woman. I'd be staring at their boobs the whole time, right? But it didn't help me. Then I found a guy that's been through similar stuff that I've been through, and he was able to help me. But I think men should be talking to men therapists.
Okay.
Because you want the perspective of a man, not a woman's perspective. It's not going to help much.
You said you lost connection with God. What happened? And how did you recover?
Yeah, so I'm an Italian Jew. I moved from Long Island to New Jersey to a town where there was no Jewish people. So I got into like 3 fights when I told people I was Jewish. And then I stopped saying anything. I hid my religion for years. And then, that was the disconnect from God. Well, that and all the stuff that happened to me as a child, right? So I just kind of...
So you blame God for it?
For a long time, yeah. Well, not really blame God. God didn't matter to me. Things were just going, right? Like as a kid, I don't think my mother wasn't very religious. My father wasn't religious, right? So to me, it was just like, it wasn't really taught. Like I had a Christmas tree and I had a menorah. So for me, it was like, it was more confusing. Then my mom went to like medians and spiritual teachers. So I went to spiritual churches. I went to events where they would read my mind and shit, right? So it was very confusing because my parents didn't have, direction in religion or prayer. We never prayed at dinner. We never prayed together as a family, which I do with my daughter now. But we just didn't have that. My mom's a hippie. My dad's in recovery, and he was a hippie. So they just free-spirited.
So how did you get it back? What was
This
it?
therapist.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
it.
he didn't teach me about religion. He just said, basically, he just taught me how to pray. Mm-hmm. He broke down life very simple.
So what is it? Break it down for us.
Well, he first explained to me that I was a boy when I thought I was a man. Right? That I teach this to a lot of people, right? Like, I don't know if you know, but when did you become a man?
I don't know.
When do you think? When do you think was the transition?
I think I become a man too quickly. You know what I mean? And it's funny. I
At
talk
what
about
point?
it.
At what
I
point?
talk about it.
What was the life event that made you a man?
First time when I left my house for the summer, I was a lifeguard. I was 14 years old, and I was truly for like 2 months on my own. Mm-hmm. And I was working, and I was living. I mean, but it was only for 2 months, and I was earning the money because I want to buy. I think that was I want to skis.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a different perspective. Mm-hmm. You moved out, you did what you want, how you wanted to buy what you wanted, right? Mm-hmm. So everything you did was selfish. When was the first time you did something selfless? When you became a father. So you don't truly become a man, and some men don't grow up until you have to give for no reason other than that. Same answer I had to my therapist. Yeah, I'm a man. I own my own business. I pay my own bills. I do my laundry. He goes, what do you do that's selfless? I donate money. He goes, how does that make you feel? I said, it makes me feel good when I can help another person. He goes, so you donate money because it makes you feel good, right? He goes, you're still a boy. He goes, you're not going to be a man until you have a child, and you give for no other reason than to make sure that baby lives. So when we're born to be selfish. It's not a bad thing. We have to be to live. If we don't cry when we're hungry and cry when we shit our diaper, and right, who's going to take care of us? So that doesn't change until you have to become a parent. So when he put that in my mind, all I needed to do was find a woman and have a family.
Dude, I just had a fucking breakthrough, motherfucker.
Yeah. So that was the first thing he taught me. First day, he basically told me I'm not a man, I'm a boy. But I also sat there and told him I think I'm a sociopath, and he explained to me why I'm not. right? Because at the time I was living a different life. So that was the first session. I'm not a sociopath and I'm not a man. That's what I learned on day one. And then we got to working. But see, when I meet guys that are in their 40s and 50s and they have no kids, they all end up at the bar drinking or partying with they have no purpose. You have zero purpose and you live for yourself. And it's not a problem. It just is what it is. Those are not the people I vibe with. Very few of my friends don't have
Dude,
children.
so I really become at 48 when I just realized that when I went through divorce, that's the first time I realized that like I'm here. I kept my life. My kids kept me alive.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I really like, I mean, I was telling that I'm the father, but I wasn't acting
You
like
weren't
a
acting
father.
as a father, correct.
You know
I
what I
know
mean?
that from
I
talking
wasn't.
with you.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know? I was
Because
like,
you were one of the guys who had the kids, but then you didn't do anything to take care of the kids.
Zero.
Because you were able to pay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right, where when I had my kid, I had some money, but not the level that you were able to not be around, which prevented you from growing up. So when you snapped out of it and then you became present in your kids' lives, and we're always going to fuck up, but your thoughts now is, how does this affect my children? It's not.
Well, that's what affects us. Like, you know, that's what my oldest wanted, you know, because I have the youngest one because I missed the time with the oldest ones.
Right.
And then they become, and then I went to the same patterns. It's like, yeah, well, you guys have everything, so just leave me alone. You know, I'm tired. First I was working, and then with the oldest ones I was working. With the youngest ones I was freaking doing Ironmans. I was training. I was doing everything else.
Yeah.
And the first time when I really like, you know, after like when I become a father and mother after divorce, I was like, fuck.
Yeah, you missed out on everything.
Dude, and it's like shit, and I have no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
I have zero, like, you know, suddenly, like, I gotta play the role when I have the kids week on, week off. It was like, and I was even more lost. I'm like, dude, I'm like a, you know, 40, 47, 46 years old man that doesn't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like a little boy running with with freaking 4 kids, having, you know, all this. I built the imperium, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. And it's funny because everybody wants success so they have freedom to spend with their family, right?
Yeah.
But then a lot of people don't show up for those games, right? Those practices, those recitals, right? So, you know, I'm not as wealthy as most of my friends, but guess what? I'm at every dance practice. I spend time with my family every day. I put that first because that's what makes me happy, you know? And I know the money's coming, right? It's up and down, but I'll always be okay because I'm living my life like I already have the freedom. I do the same stuff I would do with billions of dollars that I do now. I'm living my life that way right now.
How would you wake up guys like me? Because I would not listen to you.
What do you mean?
Like, I would not listen. Like, yeah, be present, be with your kids, do this. Like you know, like, oh, my oldest daughter came to me, let's go to the, you know, father-daughter dance. Like, I don't do this shit. Well, all the dads do, but I don't.
Yeah, but that's because you were still stuck in selfish. You were being selfish.
Yeah.
You were being selfish. You were doing whatever it is that Jarek wanted to do, and you weren't open to that. And I don't think it's something that I could wake people up. I could tell the story, right? We can continue to tell
It's
our
funny.
story,
That's what I tell
and
the
somebody is going to hear it, and it's gonna help them. But somebody who's having a problem can't come to you, and you literally get your message through to them like that. It doesn't work like that.
It's funny. Like, I can never advise anybody because, like, who the fuck are you to judge me? So I always tell them my story. Like depends. Like, you know, like the best advice you can give somebody, just tell them the story, and if they can relate, they can snap out of it. They're good for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I do the podcast. I do the social media. It's like, dude, I cannot tell you, like, you can tell me, like, what you're doing with, and I can give you, like, a blueprint.
Yeah, I could give you my therapist, but I can't tell you what you need to hear at that moment.
Because, you know, we're not always ready to hear it.
Right. We also don't know who we need to tell it to, right? Like, you might change somebody with your story, somebody that would have never known you or met you, right? Like, how are they going to hear your story if they live in California? And
well, now we have internet. Now we have the social media. Now we have the, you know, I mean, that's what I love. It like the message can be spread.
Yeah,
that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Even like that's what that shit gives me purpose and fulfillment because you know there's so many like freaking suicides.
Yeah.
Now it's the mental June. Like I thought it's May. Now, Sam, it's May. It's June. It's mental month. Like
So May is mental awareness. June is men's mental awareness.
I got it. So 720,000 suicide, $545,000, 500. You see dollars.
Stay present.
You see, stay present. Stay right there, right there. This motherfucker only think about money. 4,500. Dude, I almost said dollars again. 545,000 men commit suicide every year.
Yeah.
And and you and I, we could be the number.
100%.
You know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about, like stuff. And let's talk about being present, because you and I, we talk about it a lot. Like,
Yeah.
like how do you tell people, it's like, be present? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, it's something that we both struggle with every day. Because you give me shit and I can give you shit right back. Right? We were in Orlando. I met some guy in the parking lot. I said, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And then I seen him inside. You go, you just met him in the parking lot. I had no clue. Because you were talking to him, right? So I didn't look him in the eyes, actually formally meet him, right? But, it just happens. We have so much going on as entrepreneurs and we're running so many different things that sometimes it's hard to be present. But when you're with your family, like when I'm with my daughter, I put the phone down. I try to be present, play the game she wants to play, because those are the things that matter.
But for me, Jesse, like what I find out is like when I connect with myself, when I'm in the quiet time, and it's like, even before the podcast, I went meditate and I fell asleep completely, doze out, I have meditation going. And I think when we gotta be present with ourselves first, and then we can be in the environment that you have a lot of distractions. Yeah. Because if you cannot connect with yourself and be present with yourself when you're alone with no distractions, it's hard to be with the other people. And you're right. I'm still struggling, But I could never, I could never sit with somebody for an hour. Like I would be like, shit, this deal. Like you have a bad week. You said like you were telling me before the podcast this, but we can still connect and we can still be in the moment.
I meditated before I left my house.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sit here for an hour. Right?
Yeah, because because all the stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Because you have a bad week. But it's like, what I love what you said. And I want you to touch on that. You cannot control other stuff, but you said you can control your routines, your habits. Mm-hmm. So how do you develop your own? Because everybody, I don't want to not everybody's got their own routine. Everybody, it's 8 billion people in this world. Everybody's freaking different. How do we make sure that you find your own routines, your own habits, your something that makes you happy?
Yeah, I mean, this is like an unconventional way, and it's something that I think about all the time. It's like when you have the best day, like whenever you have a really good day, think about exactly what you did that day, and then do that every day, whether your day is good or bad, right? I'm not like you. I don't wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 7:30, but I stay up later than you, right? So my days just shift a little. I know many successful people that wake up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and a lot that wake up at 4 o'clock. It's just, what do they do? Almost the same exact things. They all pray, they all meditate, they all work out, and they all work, right? Like they focus on their business, their being, their body, and their bonds. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them. And that's what it is, right? It's having your routine, doing it every day, whether you're traveling, whether you're at home, whether you're having a good day or a bad day.
But it's funny, like you say, I get up in the morning. You're like, everybody's got different time,
yeah,
and they always do in the same time, because like I have friends that they really do late, yeah, but they do the stuff I do in the morning. They do a lot later, and I cannot do that.
No, I like to do it before I start my day. I just start my day later than you're starting your day. I need to pray. Like, can I do a ritual or a meditation at night? Sure, but it's not going to help my day. Okay. It's not going to help me go throughout the day, right? So I have to do it beforehand.
Damn, I meditate before I go to bed, man.
No, I sometimes
because
do a second
what happens is I want to
program. You don't meditate
in
the morning, though?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right. Because I do both, too.
Okay.
I'm saying my routine, my ritual, everything I do every day, it's for the morning to set up a good day. But then I sometimes do meditations at night, too, to go to bed and reset. But it's not something I do every single day.
Somebody asked me once, a few years ago, what makes Jarek happy? And I have no answer. It took me years to find the answer. What makes you happy?
Being a father. That was like the first time I was truly happy. You know? What else makes me happy? That's a good question.
It's a good question. A lot of
Yeah.
people cannot answer that.
Love makes me happy. Having a woman that loves me, having a family that loves me. True love is happiness. My therapist taught me that too. True love is happiness. So loving yourself will make you happy.
There you go.
Right
there.
And having people that love you and loving other people. Just true love in general is what happiness is.
I think the love for yourself is the most, like to me right now, is the most
Yeah.
important because I neglected myself for so long, and that I can control.
Yeah,
Because I cannot
you can only control the
because-
controllables.
Because remember, I love, my other wives, and then suddenly this got cut off.
Right,
So so that's I start believing in love because I never loved myself.
right.
You know what I mean? So it's really got to start with the stuff that you can control.
Right. Well, that's why if somebody's struggling and they don't have a significant other or they don't have a girlfriend or anything, I say just love yourself. True love could be love for yourself, love for your children, love. But yes, you have to feel lovable and love yourself to love others.
Because I think the more you love yourself, the more you can just give the love to somebody else. So
Yeah, but if you can't just say I love you in the mirror, you actually have to treat yourself.
you gotta
as-
say the shit.
No,
You guys,
no,
you gotta
no,
say the
you
shit.
Can,
You
can't-
gotta
no.
say the
Jarek,
shit.
You can say it,
Yes.
but you also have to do actions that are showing God that you respect yourself too. You can't just say I love you, motherfucker, and go eat 10 pizzas and get fat.
That's where I was
You
gonna
have-
go. And then
right.
have a 10 beers, and
You
then have
can't
a
do
shot.
that. Yeah, because-
and then smoke, get
Yeah.
gummies, get cocaine. That's
Correct.
like and that's the most important. I do talk about it a lot. Self love is also the toxic and the negative talk.
Correct.
You cannot allow it. Like you gotta put. Like I realize, like shit. Dude, sometimes I just need to just hear it. That's it. That what I'm ruminating right now. Boom, I'm done. And just tricking the mind. How do you trick your mind when you go to like that? Because when you go to the negative spiral, it's like it never, like you can stay there forever. Because it's hard to climb,
Yeah.
but it's easy to drop. How you deal with that?
With prayer. I just abundant thinking, and just praying again. I'll pray multiple times a day if I have to. Just to rewire my brain. Sometimes I'll do some breathing exercises and then go back to the day.
Do you know, it's funny thing that I really, like, I always, like, for years I've been telling me that I'm loved, but I never said I'm abundance. And in the last, like, 3 to 6 months, I just putting in my prayer that I'm the abundance. So it's like, and then, everything
I
is just...
thank God for the abundance, the blessings, and the favor in my life today, every day.
How do you hit the flow?
What?
How do you hit the flow? When you're in the flow, it's like everything.
my flow state?
Yeah, flow state.
I mean, it's just when you just feel great. I mean, I can't really explain it, but you just know. I can't explain that one. It's a tough one.
Like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, it's like...
Yeah, but everything's going good, and even if something comes up that's bad, it just doesn't matter. That's what flow state to me is, because there's always negative things, right? Out of all your thoughts in a day, I don't know if you know the number, but it's like 85 or 90% negative thoughts.
I think they have 70,000 thoughts a day or something like that.
Right,
Like,
but
there was something like what do you Google, but it's always like...
But it's like 90-something% are negative thoughts, right? So flow state to me is not even hearing those negative thoughts at all. Everything's just fucking good.
it just like bounces. It's like, no,
Yeah.
not today, motherfucker, not today.
Yeah, and even when you have a great workout, right? Like those days, I always have a workout. They're not always the best workouts, right? But you push to do them no matter what. But that flow state is like when you're working out, you're doing more weight, you're pumping more, and then everything in life is like that. To me, that's like what flow state is, when just everything's good.
Like I was hitting the flow state when I was riding the bikes, and I never realized that's the flow state. It's like I got that's the first time when somebody told me about it years ago.
Sure that wasn't an adrenaline rush?
No,
was
because it
flow
wasn't.
state?
It's what happened is you going for miles and like you have the wind and everything. Suddenly you singing, you kind of like, almost dancing on the bike. And I love the feelings. But I never, like when I want to go there, I could never go there. Like you cannot force flow state.
So, yeah.
Flow state's got to come from within.
Okay. So I guess when I played pool, right, I'm a pool player. Mm-hmm. I used to call that my therapy. So from 11 years old till I started therapy, that was my therapy. When I play pool, nothing else matters. Nothing, like I'm literally just in that zone and nothing else matters. It clears my head. Mm-hmm. That's what you would call flow state then. No. Yeah.
What's your superpower, brother?
Sobriety.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
I never heard that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Go deeper on that.
I just feel like overcoming everything that I've overcame, right? Opiates and all these other drugs and addictions, it already puts me in a small percentile of people that
Dude, I got goosebumps, motherfucker.
they actually get off the shit, right? Like just by eliminating that puts me in like a 2% out of 100 people. That's a superpower.
That's a good one.
Right?
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then the other one is my networking ability, my ability to just be me, no matter who you are, right? No matter if I'm with Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Jarek Tadla, I'm going to be the same person around all of them. If they like it, cool. If they don't, see you later. You know?
Cool.
That's another one.
What is next for Jesse?
What's next? I'm going to start my own podcast soon, too.
Okay.
It's been on the
Are we
board.
putting on the date on it?
Yeah, I've already done that and moved it forward.
Okay. I need a date. Let's make you accountable, brother.
January 1st, 2026.
Oh, dude, we got to do it a little bit quicker, man.
We're like 6 months into the year. 6 months.
Dude, listen. No,
Guy, you hear this guy? 6 months is not a lot.
No, we got to do a lot quicker than that. March 21st, we're doing the Mental Men Awareness March, Men as Rise as One.
Yeah.
So, I need you to start putting podcasts so we can bring more men and bring the awareness to the mental health, emotional intelligence, brain health, mind health, all this stuff. So, no, we got to do. When is your birthday?
Sounds good, doesn't it?
No.
My birthday's December 12th.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
That doesn't work. That only is 3 weeks before.
Oh, why doesn't it work?
We got to do a little bit sooner, man.
All right.
Okay.
We'll follow up on this next week.
Okay. What are you going to do it? You going to rent a studio or what are you going to do?
Yeah, there's one in Boca. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought about it already.
Okay.
Got to figure it out. I don't know if I'm ready for this expensive hobby that you've created. This guy.
Which one? What is the expensive hobby I created?
Podcasting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to be ready to put out the content. I don't want to start it until I'm ready to do it.
Okay. But you're never ready. We're never ready to have a first kid.
Yeah,
Dude,
here we go.
Dude, we're never ready to have a kid. We're never ready to buy a first car. We're never ready to buy first business.
Right.
We're never ready to get married. We're never ready to go back to school, dude. So it's like, what is this shit, dude? You talking to me, man.
January 1st. January 1st, 2026, I will have my podcast.
Okay, we have January 1st, 2026.
Yeah.
Where people can find you, Jesse?
On Instagram, Jesse Deutscher. Facebook, Jesse Deutscher. You'll find me if you want to find me.
Got it.
I'm out there.
Guys, you know where to find me on Instagram, on YouTube. Watch our channel. Say, subscribe, put a like, and to the next time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Leave your comments and subscribe for more insights on mastering the inner and outer wealth.